Hello, everyone. My name is Rimeike, and I'm the founder of Quantum Cybersecurity Skills for Stock Optimization. With me today is Dragomir Vatkov. Dragomir, please introduce yourself.
Uh, um, Thanks for having me. As you said, Dragomir Vatkov is my name. I'm working in the cybersecurity space, and especially in the cybersecurity space for more than 20 years now. Have worked in various positions in various companies, from operational, purely technical positions, more strategic one, architectural one, also management one. And happy to be here today with you and have an interesting discussion on cybersecurity.
Fantastic. So we have aligned with the Dragomir to cover three topics. One of my favorite is security by design, the best practices and challenges, risk awareness, balancing between business needs and cybersecurity objectives to achieve appropriate security, and cyber secure vs compliance. How far do you need to go and how to help, I would say, even the mindset of the boards to understand if we are 100% compliant, is are we really 100% secure? So those are interesting angles. So yeah, let's shoot ahead. So security by design. If I may just start, Dragomir, I recall sitting in a very interesting meeting with one of Siemens security architect a couple of years ago, and he was drawing on the piece of paper, what is security by design, and usually it is taken from the angle of software, building the software, building secure products. But you have way deeper expertise, and we also need to take to understand, to talk from the angle. You cannot rip everything out. There is security, not necessary by design, but you cannot rip everything out. So how to do this efficiently, effectively? What is your best practice?
Yeah, it's a very key question. And you're right. Security by design emerged from the software industry. It's a well-known approach since the 80s or early 90s. But nowadays, I mean, it applies to also the normal IT space, also to the system integration space as well, and it can bring a lot of benefits also there. But let's start. You're right. I mean, usually if you have a running environment, a productive environment, you have to deal with many technological debts and many debts based on decisions done in the past. And you cannot definitely just reset everything from tomorrow and say, okay, I'm doing security by design and everything will be fine. And this is not how it works, of course. From my perspective, security by design is a mindset at the end of the day, a mindset that has to be built within the organization. And no matter what type of organization we are speaking, if it is a software development company or company that is providing digital or digitally assisted services, at the end of the day, when you start to build new things, you should be aware that they are bringing additional exposure to your business, to your customer data in some cases, depending on what your main asset is and what you protect in your environment. And it's not kind of like doing cybersecurity as a quality gate at some point in time in a project or a product life cycle. It's something, these are the small activities that you do every day, taking decisions every day. You know, key, a very good friend of mine once said, um, to an audience, have you done, who knows threat modeling, or who knows what threat modeling means, you know? And this is one of the key activities, basically, when you're building something, you need to be aware of your threat landscape, what is possible, what can goes wrong, and how to, you know, make your mind how to fix these things or to prevent these things. And by asking this question, the answer of the audience was barely someone said that he's familiar with threat modeling, and which is kind of like an interesting fact, because in fact, every one of us is doing this threat modeling activity in our daily basis all the time. When we start driving to work, or we are deciding on the appropriate road or the appropriate way how to reach to work, and this is already a threat model. Am I faster by car? Am I faster by train? Or I should better stay at home and keep safe, you know? So this is kind of like a threat model. And in fact, it's something that is quite natural to the human beings. We have this instinct of protecting ourselves. And this is somehow applied to a digital space, not always the case, which is again a very natural behavior, because people who are writing software, for instance, and I'm writing software by myself, and I wrote software by myself for many years. We have a certain mindset doing those things, right? We have a task and we try to solve it. And as long as it works, then it's fine. And this is a typical way of thinking of a software developer. But
Works
writing,
fine, not necessarily secure.
exactly. But if we build this secure by design mindset, then the probability that the developer, while writing the function, is asking himself, well, what will happen if I have this negative input here? Will this be the desired handling of such input? Can something goes wrong that is not handled at all? And this is kind of like naturally introducing security by design into the code, into the product, or into the system that we are designing. I mean, I'm giving the example based on software development, but it's the same thing when you're applying different tools and you're sticking them together to solve to assist a business process, for instance.
I like to dig a little bit deeper on a couple of elements here. So there has been a lot of focus in the last couple of years on ICDC, I think, environments, right?
Mhm.
To help to help bring the benchmark of what secure software is. The question is, the question is, uh, the question is, can we trust just on a human perspective what is security by design, or there needs to be a benchmark? Yeah, so how to better, how to make sure everyone who is writing the line of code can follow this. I think I made a mistake about, but that's no worse. Let's skip it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We should not rely only on the human. And you know, trust is good, but control is better. Somebody said. Um, and well, building this mindset in the human that is dealing with the system, that is designing, building the system, operating the system, or who or she who is dependent on this system. This is a very good start, and this is how a smooth transition in building this mindset and introducing security by design in the organization can be done pretty in a pretty tangible way. But of course, looking into the product life cycle, of
Yeah.
course, you need the tools, you need the processes, you need the technology to assist the the verification, the analysis and the verification of the product to be secure, you know. So I'm not saying that if you have a perfectly written software or a perfectly written product, then it doesn't require any monitoring,
Yeah.
or any control, because yeah, this is part of the life cycle. If I build a tool and then somebody starts to use it, I'm not anymore in control of the tool, or not directly controlling this tool usually,
Yeah.
right? So I have to build the tool in a way that the person doing the activities with it is capable of responding to some events that could be security relevant, and to provide sufficient mitigations and control on these events. I personally don't like very much benchmarks, because I mean, benchmarks are usually a minimum standard,
Yeah.
or let's say average standard, but this is not kind of like, we don't speak about average security or average secure system. We are trying to build
The
an
best.
appropriate secure system that is acting in a secure way in a certain context, right? Um, and benchmarks are a good starting point, but just being compliant or better than a benchmark is fine, but it's doesn't have any state, doesn't give any statement about how secure the product is, or how secure the system is.
Yeah. If I may ask, you've been working for very successful organizations. What is, could you give like in a couple of sentences, like what helps to change, to loop in the right stakeholders and to drive this mindset change of security by design, because people are sometimes old habits die hard, right?
Right, right.
It's real, right? So is positive security culture enabling this? Is something else that helps? Because especially in the enterprise, sometimes what I'm hearing, there is still tribal sort of uh, um, how to say, a lot of tribal things going on, and you need to really invest a lot of time with individuals to really change them, and so on. So any efficient ways you could recommend?
Yeah, yeah, I think what you're saying is also a very natural way of how organizations are acting, because everyone in an organization has a certain role, right?
Yeah.
And as a security role, or acting in a security role, um, you're seen usually as somebody who is preventing things, right? I mean, it's not coming again from me. I'm quoting somebody, but somebody said that we as a cybersecurity experts or cybersecurity professionals have been done many things in a wrong way for years, like saying, no, you're not allowed to do this, or are you crazy, don't do this, because in other case this and that will happen. And this is not usually how you convince people, right? I mean,
Yeah.
um, how you convince people in a way that they are following your understanding about a certain topic. If we are um, as a cybersecurity professional, if I'm focused on cybersecurity for the sake of cybersecurity, then I have, with very high probability, will have extremely difficult times in an organization, because the people are not going to want to chat with me, to work with me, to interact with me. And I personally believe there are almost no organizations of this world that are there to be secure. The organizations are there to build business. So
Yeah.
um,
True.
and this is kind of like going in the direction, giving an answer to your question. How do you convince an organization that security is a good thing and helps the business? So this is the question that needs to be answered.
So you dive
Well,
deep into, this is our risk. This is what would cost us if we don't do anything. Something like that. Yeah.
from a certain perspective, yes. On the other side, well, this is again not an example coming from myself, but thinking of a car, when the brakes were introduced in a car, they were introduced for one reason. Having a brake in a car allows you to drive faster, right? And so brakes are a security feature, but no one is challenging the brakes in a car nowadays because they're giving an advantage. You can drive faster. Um, and this is how I mean, the people around me, my colleagues, and I see the benefits of introducing security by design in an organization. So looking into the business, looking for opportunities, business opportunities, by introducing cybersecurity measures, appropriate cybersecurity measures. This is basically putting the discussion in a completely different level. So we are not anymore saying, no, you're not allowed to do this, or are you crazy? But we are saying, well, if you do this, you can probably make this additional business with this dedicated customer or something like this. So it's always a way of argumenting with the people. But I mean, it sounds quite easy,
Right.
business first. In reality, it's not so easy. And from my perspective, the first step that a cybersecurity professional should ask himself or herself, um, looking for arguments against the business stakeholders, is to know the business by itself. What drives the business? What are the key priorities for the business? Because I mean, this is the top three priorities for organization usually are giving an indication what is the most important thing for the organization in a digital space. And as a security professional, if I'm trying to convince the people and looking for the right arguments and looking at the end of the day to build appropriate security within this organization,
Yeah.
I need to be aware of these business priorities and find opportunities how to improve those by introducing my security measures, by introducing my security technology processes and people related activities in the organization.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, Dragomir, I mean, I'm enjoying, we just started with one. I'm enjoying it, I think too much here. But let's jump into the second. This very nicely leads us to risk awareness. Again, I've been engaged a lot in risk awareness projects. Good, I would say by now, 3, 4 years ago, when it just first started. And the risk awareness, I think at the very beginning it was more like phishing, where every employee was educated if they clicked on phishing email and so on. But risk awareness today, it's we what I'm big believer of, in a similar way of as DevOps that became DevSecOps. I think security ops need to scale. So it's not just risk awareness for employees. It's
I mean, secure supply
working together.
chain.
Sorry.
It's also secure supply chain if you're
Yes.
building, working with
Yes.
partners, and it can be as complex as
Yes.
as it is. I mean, it's can be quite complex
Well,
situation.
let's
Yeah,
let's
true.
talk about, the complexities, what has changed in the couple of years, where the focus is, and how to overcome complexities. Is there any golden formula, or maybe not, but what works, from your perspective?
Well, I mentioned already the first step. From my perspective, it's keeping an eye on what the business wants to achieve, right? Because this is kind of like if you're losing focus. I mean, complexity is sometimes based on wrong decisions or on technical depth on things that are probably not so relevant on the business. So by focusing on the business strategy, and I believe, and I promise you, if you do so, your business partners, your business stakeholders will love you, because this is going to, to make the discussion pretty smooth and pretty easy. But keeping the focus on the business priorities is naturally decreasing the complexity and introducing systems that are probably not relevant to the business priorities. I mean, everyone is speaking about digitalization, since years. Now, COVID sped up a little bit the whole story, but sometimes I have the feeling that if digitalization consultant, if I'm speaking with a digitalization consultant, usually they tend to, oh, this can be easily digitalized. Yeah, but if it doesn't make sense for the business, why? If it is not a key process, if it is not the key deliverable of the business, if it is not part of the top 3, 5, 10 priorities of the business, just leave it as it is, because this is not something that is crucial for the business itself. Well, it will a digitalization in a process always gives benefits, right? Make it automates it or make it more efficient, cost efficiency, error prone, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty similar to the way how you do cybersecurity, right? I mean, these are usually the sales arguments when you're selling a security tool. It's always cost reduction and effectiveness, boost of effectiveness. But this is, from my perspective, the first step to decrease the complexity. Then there is a very good security design principle called keep the things simple. So don't try to outsmart everybody. So if something can be done in a simple way, just do it in a simple way, because then you don't have to handle all the overhead by introducing cool and fancy features on the top of something that are probably used by 1% of your potential users,
Totally.
you know?
Yeah.
So these are kind of like small tips and tricks how to reduce the complexity within the environment. Speaking about the risk management or the risk analysis or handling risk in general, well, if it is a digital risk, the things that I said for the security by design applied to this. I mean, at the end of the day, a risk is a result of a threat model.
Yeah.
So being aware of your threat landscape, I mean, being aware of your system, being aware of the possible attack vectors to the system, and having a clear prioritization of what of these threats are business relevant, what is their probability, what is their impact. This is kind of like, and providing appropriate mitigation measures to reduce the result risk of these threats to an acceptable level.
Mm.
This is, from my perspective, the effective way how a risk management is done nowadays. in the digital space.
I'm sorry, that shouldn't have happened, but happens sometimes. So what? There was one very good survey report by Ponemon Institute and IBM, and they have allocated even a specific value of dollar value if
Mhm.
your processes are too complex, you're gonna pay a higher price in the data breach case, you know. So it's very good report, and it gives outlines few other steps, you know, what you should be doing to reduce the data breach cost, you know, and if you don't do certain things, one of them was risk awareness, you know, then automatically your cost will go up. So very, very good. It's worth reading IBM Ponemon. I think it was the cost of data breach 2020, if I
Mhm.
recall it correctly. So fantastic. I think we can. So let's go into the third one. You know, securious compliance in terms from operational, but also from strategical point of view. Um, you know, what could you add?
Yeah, this is in fact my favorite topic, this comparison, being compliant with the standard or versus being secure
Mhm.
in an appropriate way.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I mean, I've spent some years working for companies that were acting in a very high regulated environment, and um, especially in the energy sector. And you know, compliance is very important because this is kind of like giving you the ability to operate, showing a compliance with a certain standard is basically a quality attribute to your operations, business, services, whatever. So compliance is important, but what I've seen many times in my career was that kind of like it becomes the top one topic for many cybersecurity teams, and this is something that I personally find quite dangerous because again, I mean, benchmarks are good because they are giving you an ability to have a visibility
Yeah.
about your situation
Yeah.
and how you relate to the to your competitors in the market space where you are. Being a compliant with the standard is always a good thing, but building new things or building systems, building products just to be compliant, it's kind of like strange, right? I mean, I don't know any company again, even those that are working in these high regulated spaces, that are there just to be compliant. They are still there to do business, and and in order to protect this business, well, compliance is one factor or one attribute, but it's not the only one.
Yeah. It's like automotive, right? Cars, different manufacturers. You have to be compliant to have your car on the road, right? But you know, here is Ferrari, here is Tesla, here is Porsche, and so on. You know, so it's getting this business advantage, agility. Why someone should buy your brand compared to, you know, and same in any business representing. So security will be that, not security, but compliance. You do need that. But, you know, is my product not only providing personalized journey to the customer and doing, enabling to do things faster and so on? How do I differentiate? But yes, my product has to be compliant. So it's, you know, it's a good good way that you are suggesting.
Yeah, I've seen many times where companies are starting their cybersecurity initiatives to achieve compliance, I'm convinced that this is the wrong way. From my perspective, if you focus on building appropriate security within your organization, within the supply chain that you have within your partners, with your customers, and bringing this to an acceptable level in terms of acceptable to your risk appetite, then compliance is a natural result of these activities.
Yeah.
So if I'm building a product and I'm applying the security by design mindset, and I'm having a very clear awareness of what can goes wrong, and in the case that it goes wrong, what I can do about this. I mean, I can barely think of a situation where this product is not going to meet certain standard and be compliant with certain standard.
Yeah. No, I think Dragomir, it was my ultimate pleasure to have you. You have communicated fantastic points to think, are we doing the right way, or maybe the other way would be more efficient and more beneficial to our business. So thank you so much for this time at SOC Superposition. And as I say, it was my pleasure. Maybe we'll reconnect once again.
Yeah, it was my pleasure as well. Thanks for inviting me, and I very much enjoyed the conversation as well.
Thank you so much. Cool. Bye.
Bye bye.